Hey, welcome. This is Lee Waller, and I'm working in Unreal Engine Motion Design Tools 5.7.1. I'm going to take a quick look at just the basics of adding in a text actor and all of the properties that you have to work with that text. To start this off, I'm going to jump over here to Actors, and there it is, the text actor. I'm just going to double click, add that in, and you'll see there in our Motion Design Outliner that we have the text 3D actor. And there it is in the viewport. Down here are the details, and you'll see first off that we have the transform controls. This is just to move this around and to scale it. So if we want to bring this closer, we want to rotate that. Those controls are right there. I'm going to reset those. And then below that, we have the text properties for this. We're not going to worry about the renderer. We'll leave it on a static mesh render. The next line right there is for the text and what you might want to type in. So for this, I'll go ahead and type in a couple of lines to show that to you. And to get a second or third line, I'm going to hold down the shift and then hit enter. And then that will give us that next line of text. And when we have our text typed in, we can just click off to the side. Below that, you can select the font you want to use. It's on the default Roboto. I'll just select Agency FB right there. Then you also have the ability to change the typeface if it has different weights. This has the regular and bold, so I'll change this to the bold. And now they have the ability to change the font size so that you can match this up with other text from other software. So I'll go ahead and bring this up a bit, set this to 96. And if you want to enforce the uppercase, make everything uppercase, click right there. Below that is token and style. And for right now, I'm going to skip past those. Those give you options for working in broadcast and live events. Below that, you'll see character, and I'm going to open that up. This gives us the ability to change the characters separately. So if I want this eye right here and I want to increase the size of it, that would be, we'll start off at 0 right here, 1 and 2. So I'll right here, select that and type in 2. And now I can change, I'll just change the scale on that. And you can see that I affect that one letter and not the rest of the text. So anything that you want to do on an individual letter in your list, just figure out the number that it is, type that in, and then you can make those changes right there. I'm going to reset that. It also gives you the ability to hide a letter. So I can click that off, and that is also something that you can animate. Moving on down in the properties, right here we have the layout. The first two options are for alignment. The alignment is based on this pivot point right here. You can see right now we're aligned to the left of the first line. So if I want to center this up, I can click here to align to center, and then also right there. And so now our pivot point is in the center of this text. Below that, you have tracking, and tracking is going to be the distance between all of the letters. So I'll just increase that a little bit to show you. You can spread all of that out. The line spacing will be between the two lines of text. And then your word spacing. Makes sense? The spacing between the words, not adjusting the letters, just the words. You also have the ability, and this works really well for lower thirds. If you're going to be creating a number of lower thirds and you want them all to fit within the same space, you can select these two, and this yellow outer box can be adjusted. And so for max width, I'll open that up, and also the max height. And to keep that proportionate, you can scale that proportionally. So with these properties, you can set up a max width and height for your text to remain in no matter what you type in there. And so I'll head back up here and take a look at our text and edit this. I'm just going to delete that, bring that up to the second line, and then we'll click off there. And you can see now everything is fitting within that space, but it has scaled it down. For the rest of this, I'm just going to delete this line right here, and we'll go with that text. And based on the font size and the amount of room that we've given it, it is fitting that text actor in there. We'll drop back down. I'm going to go ahead and turn those two off. And then we'll take a look at our layout effects. We'll need to initialize the layout effects. Click on the plus button right there, and then on this drop-down menu, let's go to Transform Effect. What this allows us to do is animate this text either using location, rotation, or scale, or all three of them. I'll jump into location first. We'll need to activate that. Let me bring this up so we can take a look at it. Right now on location, you have a location begin and a location end. There is a change right here on the X value, which is going to push it away from us or bring it closer to us. Right now, it's set to start at 0 and end at 100 centimeters away from us. To animate that or to see that progress right here, you'll see that I can scrub through there and that text is moving. It is moving on a left to right direction, and that's set right here, and you have other options on that. I'll go ahead and set this up for an animation. I'm going to actually change this, set that to 0, and I want this to come in from the side. So I'm going to go to my y-axis right here, and I'm going to push it off to the side here. Bring that right about there. Check my timeline, make sure my timeline indicator's right there. Now we'll set a keyframe for our location progress. Click right there. And I'll move this in. We'll do 2 seconds on this animation. And I'll move this to 100% and give it another keyframe right there. Then we can go back and take a look at our animation. And so by setting this up, we can bring this in from any direction that we want to. Again, we started it off on the right side over here by setting this number, and then it's going to end up back to 0. We created the animation by animating the progress there. Let's take a look at this one more time. It's easing in, and that is being affected by the interpolation of our keyframes right here. I'm going to set both of those to linear. We'll take another look at that. Changes things a little bit, but the way that you're really going to affect this animation is by using this ease right here. If you'll go to the drop-down menu, take a look at that, you'll find this list of curves that ease this in. You can explore all of these curves. I'm going to drop down to this in, out, back right here based on the way that I have this animation set up. And I've applied that curve to the easing of this animation. So we'll play that real quick. And so you have a number of options that you can work with based on the animation that you set up, how you're working with the text, whether you're bringing it in from out of view or if you're just moving it in the viewer. You can work with all of these different curves to create the animation you're looking for. I'll change this one more time. Set it to jiggle 1 right there, and we'll take a look at that animation. So again, these all will give this animation a little bit different look. I'm going to go ahead and delete this animation, go back to my text actor there and drop down, and we'll take a look at scale and rotation also. So again, in our layout effects, I'm going to deactivate the location, and I'll go to rotation now. And again, you can see that by advancing this progress bar right here, it's going to animate it based on what we've set in the properties right here. Right now, the rotation is beginning at a -90 on the y-axis, so it's all laying down right there. And then as it progresses, it's going to go to 0% rotation on the y-axis. I'll go ahead and set that animation up. Let me go down here to the beginning of the timeline. And again, I'm just going to set a keyframe for that progress and then bring that progress up to 100%, set that keyframe, and we'll take a look at that real quick. We'll go ahead and add in the scale also. So I'll select it, and back at the beginning of our timeline, I'll set a keyframe for that scale progress, and then I'll just jump to that second keyframe right there, and we'll bring that up to 100%. Set that keyframe right there. Now we can go back to the beginning of our timeline and take a look at that. So now they are rotating and scaling up as they move through that animation. And I've changed the animation up a little bit. I've gone into the curve and adjusted both of them to this jiggle 1, and we'll take a look at it. I'm going to close up the layout effects there, and below that are the geometry properties. I'm going to jump out of the camera right here, select right here, and if you don't have this, go to the default viewport, select it. You probably are already out of that camera. I'm just going to jump out now. You can zoom around and take a look at the text. I'm going to extrude this. I'll just set this to 20, and that just gives depth to the text. Before I do anything else, I'm going to take a look at the materials. We'll take a more in-depth look at this in just a moment, but right now I want to deselect is unlit. I want it to be lit so we can see the detail of this a little bit better. I'm also going to set our bevel color to something a little bit darker, bring that down just to a real dark gray. The bevel right now is just a 90-degree angle. We can adjust that, round that a little bit more. Setting the bevel here, I'll go ahead and set it to 2. It's rounding based on a convex type of bevel. So this is actually rounded out. Zoom in a little bit closer to this so that we can see it. And we can change that bevel type. There's a few options in there. I'll go to concave now. So now it is dipping down here. You can kind of see that on the cut right there. And you can explore the other options. The linear is going to be an angled line, half circle. And with this one, the bevel is coming out beyond the front face. One step, again, it's dropped back behind the front face again, but we have that one step there. And then, of course, we have 2 steps and then engraved. That one also moves the bevel out in front of the front face. And on some of these, you have the ability to add segments to it to round it. Now, one drawback that I have found to all of this, and it is occurring right there on the X, you'll see these sharp points right here. It doesn't handle those very well at all. You pretty much have to decrease this bevel size down to 0.5. And even with that, we're still getting this overlapping in the geometry. So some of these don't work quite as well. I'll go back to convex on that. So you'll have to experiment with those to kind of see the look that you want to get for your text. In this section also is use outline, and that will create an outline for your text. You have the ability to increase the size of that outline. And you can see the look that we get with that option. And if you want to, you can add a fill back in with that by changing from stroke to fill. And all of that geometry still works with our animation. On the material options, it defaults with a solid. It does have other options here. I'll explore those in just a moment. But I want to take a look at, you have the front color, the back color. Front color is going to be here. Back color, of course, is going to be the opposite side of that. The extrude, which is this section here. And then we've seen already the bevel. So I'll just change those real quick. I'll leave the front color as white. We'll go to the back color and we'll just make that a different color. And then the extrude right here, we'll just change that maybe to a blue. And so now you can see all of those sections of the text are based on that color we've chosen here. Let me zoom around and take a look at the back. And so you have the ability with this 3D geometry of the text to create different colors or materials for each of them. Now, this is just the setup on the solid. We'll take a look at the gradient. And this gradient is going to cover the entire text based on these 2 colors. And then where we set that offset. So you can see I can move the offset here. Also have the ability to rotate that. And then the smoothness right here. So if we want to shut that down to a hard-edged line right there, or if we want to soften that up quite a bit, you have that option. And you can also change those colors right there. Then our next option is a texture. A texture can be all different types, anything from brick to grass to cloth, any type of texture that might be loaded in the engine, something that you've imported. You can go here and select it. It's on this default right now. I can change that texture out. And again, anything that you import or load into the engine, you can swap to that. The last option is custom. This gives us the ability to add a separate texture to the front, the bevel, the extrude, and the back. It also gives us the ability to work with the material designer. So I'll do that real quick. With that text selected in this custom option right here, I'll go to material designer, open it up, and you'll see there that it gives us then the ability to create those separate materials. I'll go ahead and create one for the front material. New material PBR continue. And I'm going to go into the base color real quick, and we'll just make this a solid color. And I'll change that out. Hit OK. And I'm going to go ahead and save this. We'll save this as a new material. Let me start a new folder for my materials. Open that up, and then I'll just label this blue. And then we can close that out. And you'll see now that that blue material has been applied. I'm going to drop into our content drawer, go into my materials folder, and I'll make a couple of other colors real quick. I'm going to select the material designer, go back into that drawer and double click on that new blue right there. And I'll change that color out again. And let's see, I'll just jump over here to the yellow, hit OK. I'm going to hit save right there. But to be on the safe side, I'm going to jump into our content drawer, save that one, and then also save this one. And then I'm going to make one more material. Double click on it and make sure that it's right there. And we'll change this color one more time. Hit OK. And again, I'll save it. I can go in and change those names. Let me close this out. Go back in and we'll label this MD_yellow. And now I'll change this to green. And so we have three colors that we can add to this. So back over here in our material slots, let me make sure that I have this blue selected because I know that's actually not the correct blue. So I'm going to click right here and it will add in that particular material. I'm going to add that also to the back. Back in the content drawer, I'll add this to our bevel, select it, go back over here to our bevel option, click right there, add it in, and then we'll change that green. Content drawer, and we'll add it to the extrude. So now we have a different color on our front and back there, and then we have different color for our bevel and extrude. I hope this has been helpful. For more on digital content creation, hit the like and subscribe button and check out my other tutorials.